The Desk by the Window: How to be Successful in the Workplace. Written and narrated by Empower Audio. Part 1, starting from the shadows. Every building has one. A desk by the window, the one bathed in morning light, the one everyone secretly wishes was theirs. For Maya, that desk wasn't just a piece of furniture. It was a symbol of peace, of respect, of success. But on her first day at the company, she sat nowhere near it. Scene 1, first day. The hum of the office felt too loud for Maya's heartbeat. She clutched her new badge in one hand and a coffee in the other, both shaking slightly. She smiled at strangers who barely noticed. Nodded at coworkers too busy to remember her name. In her head, a quiet voice repeated the same phrase over and over. Don't mess this up. She worked hard to land this job, endless interviews, sleepless nights, the constant fear she wasn't qualified enough. And now here she was, feeling smaller than ever. Her manager, Mr. Hart, greeted her with a polite but distracted smile. Welcome aboard, you'll be working with Eli on the Anderson project. Tight deadlines, but you'll manage. That was it, no tour, no real orientation. Just a stack of expectations and a chair by the wall. Scene 2, the first week. By the end of the first week, Maya had learned 3 things. 1. No one cares how hard you try if your results don't show. 2. Staying invisible doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you stuck. And 3. Being busy isn't the same as being valuable. She stayed late every night that week, eyes burning under the fluorescent lights. Eli, the golden employee, would wave goodbye around 6. Don't work too hard, rookie, he'd tease. She'd laugh politely, pretending she didn't feel like an outsider in her own office. Scene 3, the breakdown. The night before a big client presentation, Maya was the last one left. The screen glowed against her tired eyes. Her slides looked perfect, at least she hoped they did. But when she presented the next morning, something happened. Midway through, she froze. Her mind went blank. Words dissolved into silence. She tried to recover, to remember the next line, but her voice cracked. Ellie jumped in to finish her pitch. The client smiled politely. Her boss didn't. After the meeting, she hid in the restroom stall. She locked the door, pressed her palms against her forehead, and whispered, "Maybe I'm not cut out for this." Scene 4, Rosa's advice. Later that day, an older coworker named Rosa found her in the break room. Rosa had seen dozens of rookies come and go. Rough day, she asked. Maya nodded. I messed up the whole presentation. Rosa smiled kindly. No, you didn't mess it up. You learned where your edges are. She stirred her coffee slowly. You know, success isn't about never falling apart. It's about how quickly you rebuild when you do. Maya didn't know it then, but those words would stay with her for years. Scene 5, the realization. That night, she didn't stay late. She packed her bag, turned off her monitor, and walked outside. The city air hit her face, cold, real, cleansing. She realized something simple but life-changing. She'd been chasing perfection instead of progress. Recognition instead of growth. Fear had disguised itself as hard work. And she'd been too busy proving herself to actually improve herself. We've all been there, haven't we? Trying so hard to belong that we forget why we started. Believing that success means exhaustion. That working more somehow means we are worth more. But the truth, the people who rise in any workplace aren't the loudest. They are the calmest. They think before they react. They listen when others interrupt. They lead without titles. That's where Maya's journey really began. Not at her desk, but in that moment of quiet surrender. When she finally stopped chasing approval and started chasing improvement. Scene 6, the decision. The next morning, Maya woke up before sunrise. She sat at her kitchen table with a notebook and wrote one line. From now on, I will stop trying to impress and start trying to grow. That became her new mantra. No more staying late to look busy. No more agreeing to everything. No more mistaking exhaustion for achievement. She didn't need to prove she belonged. She needed to become the person who belonged. Closing monologue, Part 1. SFX soft piano returns. The tone is grounded, steady. Narrator inspired, heartfelt. Every person who succeeds starts in the shadows. Every confident professional was once the quiet beginner. The one who overthought every sentence. The one who doubted every step. Maya's first chapter wasn't about triumph. It was about awakening. And maybe that's where your story is too. Maybe you're learning that success doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being present. From showing up, learning fast, and choosing growth over guilt. Because one day you'll look back and realize the moment you thought was your downfall was actually your foundation. Music swells slightly. This is how every great career begins. Not with applause, but with awareness. Part 2, Rethinking Success. Sometimes success doesn't start with a promotion. It starts with a pause. For Maya, that pause came when everything she thought was hard work stopped working. When the late nights, the overthinking, the people-pleasing. None of it brought peace. None of it brought results. So she did something most people are too afraid to do. She stopped. Scene 1, the pause. It was Saturday. The first weekend she hadn't checked her email in months. Maya sat by the window of her apartment, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. For once, she didn't feel guilty for resting. She felt empty but ready. She opened a blank page in her notebook and wrote 3 questions. What am I chasing? What am I avoiding? What would success look like if it actually felt good? That morning, she didn't get answers, but she asked better questions. And that's where every real transformation begins. Scene 2, the week off. Maya took a week off. No emails, no deadlines, no pretending. She walked in the park every morning. She started reading about emotional intelligence. Books that talked about calm as strength and listening as leadership. She began to realize how much time she'd spent trying to appear confident, instead of actually feeling confident. For the first time in her life, she began to understand something powerful. That success without peace is failure in disguise. Scene 3, the return to work. When Maya came back to the office, nothing around her had changed. But she had. Her co-workers were still rushing. Illy was still loud and confident. Mr. Hart was still distant and demanding. But Maya was different. She walked slower. She spoke softer, but with more intention. And when things went wrong, she didn't panic. She paused. People noticed. At first, they couldn't explain it. How someone so quiet could suddenly feel grounded. But calm has gravity. And Maya was starting to develop her own. Scene 4, the test. It happened on a Tuesday. A client called mid-meeting, furious about a missed deadline. Eli snapped back defensively. Mr. Hart looked ready to explode. Maya felt her chest tighten, but then she remembered something she'd read. Emotional intelligence is staying aware of your feelings without letting them drive the car. She took a deep breath, leaned forward, and said calmly, I understand your frustration. Let's take a moment to review what happened and find a way forward. The client's tone softened. The tension in the room shifted. After the call, Eli looked at her in surprise. Wow, I thought he was going to fire us. Maya smiled, so did I. And that's when she realized she was learning how to be steady when others shook. Scene 5, boundaries. That night, another email came in 9:48 p.m. It was from Mr. Hart, Need the updated numbers tonight. For a moment, her old habit kicked in, the urge to say yes. To prove herself again. But then she stopped. She typed, "I'll have them first thing in the morning." Then she closed her laptop. She didn't over-explain. She didn't apologize. She trusted that saying no to overwork was saying yes to her integrity. The next morning, nothing terrible happened. In fact, her work was sharper, her focus stronger. Boundaries didn't make her weaker, they made her trusted. Scene 6, the conflict. The real test of emotional maturity doesn't happen in private. It happens when your composure meets someone else's chaos. And Maya's test came sooner than she expected. One afternoon, Eli, the same coworker who'd always seemed untouchable, snapped at her. "Can you not slow things down with all your calm? Some of us actually move fast." Maya's instinct was to defend herself. But she took a breath, met his eyes, and said, "Maybe we both want the same thing, just in different ways." Eli blinked. It wasn't the reaction he expected. The argument stopped before it began. That moment changed their dynamic forever. They started collaborating, not competing. And for the first time, Eli respected her. Scene 7, Rosa's lesson. Maya met Rosa for coffee that weekend. "Something's different about you," Rosa said. "You seem lighter." Maya smiled. "I just stopped needing everyone to like me." Rosa nodded. "That's the secret, you know. You stop needing approval, and people start trusting your judgment." Maya leaned back in her chair and thought about that. Maybe leadership wasn't about being the loudest voice in the room. Maybe it was about being the calmest presence in it. Scene 8, reflection. In just a few weeks, everything began to shift. Not because her job changed, but because she did. Her confidence wasn't loud anymore. It was quiet, steady, grounded. She began to understand the deeper truth of success. That your emotional balance is your professional advantage. That calm doesn't mean weak, it means focused. That control isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about channeling them wisely. People started asking her for advice. Even Eli. And Maya realized she was beginning to lead without even trying. Closing monologue, part 2. Real success isn't a title. It's how you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's the patience to breathe before reacting. The humility to learn before speaking. The courage to stay kind in a competitive world. Maya wasn't climbing the ladder anymore, she was building her foundation. And the stronger it became, the higher she could rise. Because success doesn't start when others believe in you. It starts when you finally believe in yourself. Part 3, building value. When Maya walked back into the office that Monday, she wasn't chasing anyone anymore. She wasn't there to prove herself. She was there to build something steady, real, and hers. The world hadn't changed. But her perspective had. Scene 1, small wins. Success doesn't come from doing one big thing right. It comes from doing small things, consistently, even when no one notices. So Maya started small. She organized her team's shared folders, cleaned up client notes, and created a new tracking system that actually made sense. At first, no one thanked her. No one even saw the effort. But over time, people started saying things like, "Hey, who fixed the reporting layout? It's actually usable now. Did Maya update the files? They're clean." Quietly, she was becoming indispensable. Not because she shouted the loudest, but because she delivered every single time. Scene 2, the Monday meeting. One morning during the weekly team meeting, Mr. Hart mentioned a new project, high pressure, fast turnaround, visible to upper management. Eli raised his hand first. "I can lead that," he said quickly. Mr. Hart nodded. "Good, Maya, you'll support him." For a moment, Maya felt that familiar sting of being overlooked. But instead of shrinking, she took a breath and asked, "Would you like me to handle the client communication and timeline tracking? It'll keep things aligned." Mr. Hart blinked, surprised by her confidence, and said, "Yes, do that." And just like that, Maya had found her lane. Not the spotlight, but the backbone of the operation. She began running weekly updates, anticipating problems before they appeared, translating chaos into clarity. Within a month, the project ran smoother than any before. Even Eli admitted, "I couldn't have done this without you." Maya smiled, not in pride, but in peace. She didn't need credit to know her value. Scene 3, the mentor returns. She met Rosa for coffee again one Friday afternoon. Rosa smiled as Maya spoke about her new approach, her focus, her calm, her steady rhythm. "You've grown," Rosa said. "You used to work to be seen. Now you work because you see the work." Maya nodded, sipping her latte. "Sometimes I still feel behind." Rosa smiled knowingly. "You're not behind, you're just building roots, and roots take time." Maya wrote that down later that night. "I'm building roots, not racing branches." Scene 4, the new intern. A few weeks later, a new intern joined the team, nervous, shy, and eager to impress. Her name was Elena. Maya saw a reflection of herself from a year ago, eyes darting, voice unsure. She made a point to welcome her. "Hey," Maya said, "if you ever get stuck or feel overwhelmed, just ask. I've been there." Elena smiled, relieved. That small kindness would grow into something bigger, though Maya didn't know it yet. Sometimes leadership starts with a single sentence. Scene 5, the setback. No story of growth is without a stumble. 2 days before a major client submission, one of the data files corrupted, weeks of work gone. Illy panicked. Mr. Hart snapped. And all eyes turned to Maya. For a second, her old self wanted to freeze, to crumble under pressure. But she took a deep breath, remembering what calm really means. "Okay," she said, "let's solve, not spiral." She divided the tasks, restored what they could, and stayed until midnight rebuilding everything from backup notes. She didn't complain, she just acted. The next morning, the presentation was flawless. Mr. Hart said quietly, "You handled that better than I did." Maya smiled. "That's okay, we all had our moment." That's emotional intelligence, not being perfect, but being poised when perfection fails. Scene 6, the ripple effect. Over the next few months, something changed in the office. People started matching Maya's tone. Meetings became calmer. Conflicts became conversations. Eli stopped rushing. Elena grew more confident. Even Mr. Hart started asking, "How can we approach this with less stress?" Her behavior had become contagious. Leadership wasn't a title, it was an energy. Maya wasn't climbing anymore. She was elevating everyone around her. Scene 7, reflection. Late one night, Maya sat at her desk, looking out at the city lights below. She thought about everything she'd learned. That results matter, but relationships sustain them. That excellence without empathy burns out fast. That consistency, quiet, reliable, humble consistency, is rarer than talent. And that maybe true success isn't about standing out. It's about standing firm. Closing monologue, part 3. This is how you build real value, not by shouting louder, but by standing stronger. Not by competing harder, but by contributing deeper. The world is full of people chasing attention. Be the one who earns trust. Because at the end of the day, people forget who worked the longest. But they never forget who worked with heart. Part 4, leading with integrity. Growth doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, through the choices you make when no one is watching. Maya didn't wake up one morning a leader. She simply started doing the right things, again and again, until everyone else noticed. But leadership is never just about being followed. It's about what happens when you're tested. And that test was coming. Scene 1, the promotion. After nearly 2 years, Maya's work had become impossible to ignore. Her consistency, calm, and ability to bring people together had caught the attention of upper management. One Monday, Mr. Hart called her into his office. He wasn't smiling, but he looked proud. "Maya," he said, "we're restructuring. I want you to lead the Anderson team." Maya froze. It wasn't just a new title, it was the same project that had once broken her confidence. She looked at Mr. Hart, unsure. "Are you sure?" she asked. He nodded. "You've earned it. Sometimes success feels heavier than failure. Because now the world is watching." Scene 2, the first challenge. Her first week as team lead didn't go smoothly. Half the team supported her. Half didn't. Eli, now a peer instead of a rival, seemed uncertain where to stand. Some whispered that she'd only been promoted because she was nice. That word used to sting. Now she just smiled. Being kind didn't make her weak. It made her steady. But the test came fast. A miscommunication caused a client delay. Her manager above, Mr. Alvarez, a calm, sharp-eyed executive, called her into his office. "Walk me through what happened," he said. Maya took a breath. She didn't blame her team. She didn't make excuses. She told the truth. Mr. Alvarez nodded slowly. "You handled that well. Most people try to hide. You chose honesty." That conversation became the foundation of their mentorship. Scene 3, Mr. Alvarez's lesson. A few weeks later, Maya stayed late working on a project proposal. Mr. Alvarez walked by, saw the light, and stopped. "You're still here?" he asked. "Just trying to get ahead," Maya said. He smiled. "I used to say that too." He leaned against the doorway. "Can I tell you something about leadership?" Maya nodded. He said, "Most people think leadership is about being in control. It's not, it's about staying composed when control is gone. People don't follow titles, they follow energy. The calmest person in the room wins." Those words sank deep. They would come back to her again, sooner than she expected. Scene 4, the crisis. 2 months later, the company faced its biggest crisis yet. A major client accused them of breaching a contract, a misunderstanding that could cost millions. The board was in panic. Emails flew like sparks. People pointed fingers. And once again, all eyes turned to Maya's team. Her stomach sank, not because of fear, but because she knew how quickly panic spreads. She remembered Mr. Alvarez's words. "The calmest person in the room wins." She gathered her team, her voice steady. "Okay, let's stop reacting and start solving. We'll figure this out together." While others shouted, she listened. While others blamed, she analyzed. She found the mistake, a small data handoff error, and presented the fix within 24 hours. The client stayed. The company stabilized. And Maya, she didn't feel heroic. She just felt grateful for every moment that had taught her how to breathe through chaos. Scene 5, the ethical test. A week later, Mr. Alvarez called her back in. He congratulated her, then said something that made her pause. "The board wants to reassign part of your team to another division. It'll make you look good in the quarterly report, but it's going to overwork your staff. You'll need to agree quietly." Maya sat back. It was a career opportunity, but it came at a cost. Her chest tightened. She thought about the faces of her team, Eli, Elena, Rosa, the late nights, the trust they'd built. She looked at Mr. Alvarez and said quietly, "I appreciate the offer, but I can't agree to something that burns out the people who made this possible." He studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Good," he said. "I wanted to see if you'd trade integrity for advancement. You passed." Scene 6, Elena's growth. Weeks later, Maya watched Elena, the once shy intern, lead her first client call. Her voice was confident, her tone calm. When it ended, Maya clapped quietly from across the room. Later, Elena came over, smiling. "I used to be terrified of speaking up," she said. Maya replied, "I know, that's how I know you'll go far." And in that moment, Maya realized she'd become what Rosa was to her. A quiet, grounding presence that makes other people believe in themselves. That's leadership. Scene 7, Reflection. Maya's reputation grew. Not because she chased power, but because she protected people. Not because she demanded excellence, but because she modeled it. She learned that leadership isn't a climb. It's a circle of learning, giving, and returning. And she finally understood what Rosa meant years ago. Success isn't about who notices you. It's about who grows because of you. Part 5, The Desk by the Window. It was her first morning in her new office. The sunlight fell across her desk, the one by the window. She stood there for a moment, coffee in hand, watching the city breathe. This time, she didn't feel nervous. She didn't feel like she had to earn her place. She had built it. Not through perfection, but through presence. Scene 1, The Visit. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Elena. "Morning, Maya, got a minute?" "Always," Maya said, smiling. Elena stepped in, holding a notebook. "I just wanted to say, thank you. You taught me how to handle things without panic, how to trust myself." Maya's heart softened. She smiled. "Then I did my job right." Scene 2, Rosa's call. Her phone buzzed, Rosa's name flashed on the screen. "Maya," Rosa said warmly, "I hear you've got the best view in the building now." Maya laughed. "It's just a desk, Rosa." Rosa replied, "No, it's proof that the right people always rise, maybe not first, but steadily." Maya looked out the window. "I just wish I could tell my younger self that she didn't need to try so hard to be perfect." Rosa chuckled. "She knows now." Scene 3, The Meeting. Later that week, Maya led her first executive meeting. People listened when she spoke, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. She didn't rush. She didn't force authority. She simply embodied it. Every lesson she'd learned, from fear to self-awareness, from burnout to boundaries, lived in her voice now. When she finished, Mr. Alvarez said quietly, "Well done, you've become what this place needed, not just a manager, a mentor." Scene 4, Final Reflection. Maya walked back to her office. She stood by the window again, sunlight warming her hands. It wasn't the view that mattered. It was the peace she carried looking out at it. She realized the real meaning of success wasn't external recognition. It was internal alignment. To lead with clarity. To work with heart. To rise without losing your kindness. She smiled to herself. Because the woman she once doubted had finally come home to her power. Final monologue, The Legacy. Music builds, the tone becomes cinematic, confident, uplifting. Narrator, powerful, heartfelt. Success isn't about climbing faster. It's about climbing truer. It's not about proving your worth, it's about living it. The workplace will always have noise, deadlines, pressure, people who misunderstand you. But beneath all that, there's one constant. Your energy. Your steadiness. Your presence. Be the person who listens when others react. Who stays grounded when others rush. Who values people over politics. Because real power doesn't shout. It guides. Maya didn't just earn a title, she became a leader. And maybe that's your story too. Maybe the desk by the window isn't a place. Maybe it's a feeling, the peace of knowing you built your success from the inside out. So wherever you are, whatever your role, remember, the calmest person in the room always wins. End of the story. Thank you so listening, Empower Audio.